Okay, it's time to kick up to the wall on your first handstand. But wait, 1 second. Do you know what this is? Can you currently do a 30-second chest to wall handstand? That means nose to wall, hips to wall, feet to wall, holding for 30 seconds. I'm nice as well. Usually in a Cali class, in the gym, I think in CaliUnity gym, I'd say 1 minute chest to wall. But I know you want to get pick up, I know you want to get working on your handstand, so I'm saying 30 seconds. Can you do a 30-second chest to wall handstand? If you can't, stop the video, go to the previous video in this playlist, and learn what these are, which are the steps to getting your first 30-second chest to wall handstand. There's literally no point trying to kick up if you haven't got the necessary strength and range in your shoulders and mobility overall and proprioception as to what a good handstand feels like. You're just going to be spinning your wheels, take 1 step back so you can take 10 steps forward so you can eventually get that handstand. Right, we've got that out of the way. You can do your 30-second chest to wall handstand. Let's work on kicking up to the wall. Now, even though you can do a 30-second chest to wall handstand, make sure you're still getting stronger. Ideally, like I said, I would like you to have a nice, strong, consistent 1 minute chest to wall handstand, and you're barely even working. Because that means that you've shown me that you can stack your joints, you can control your breathing, and you've got the necessary mobility to then move into the kick up to handstand. So let's actually look at why people can kick up to the wall in a handstand. Have you ever seen those people in gymnastics, maybe in the Olympics, maybe you see some of them at Cali, where they literally just lean forwards and their feet magically float off the floor and they come up into handstand. And yet, I know when I first learned my handstand, I nearly sent a hole through the wall because I was trying to kick up so high each time. There was no floatiness, there was none of this like lift that you see. But now, I can press the handstand and I don't need to kick up. Why is that? Well, it's all about the base, your center of mass being over your base of support. Your center of mass is roughly your belly button and the base of support is your hand. Okay? What you're doing when you kick up to handstand is you're getting your hips over your hands. You're stacking your joints. Once you're in that position, then you're fine. You're floating, you're in that handstand position, but we need to get you there in the first place. If you look at the video, and this is me doing a kick up to a handstand, you see me starting in a downward dog, then kicking up, and I'm using my legs almost as like a weight to pull my hips over to the wall so I then stack my joints. This is super important to understand because I see people spinning their wheels all day long, kicking up, kicking up, kicking up, doing the same thing over and over again without actually understanding the mechanics of holding a handstand. So let's have a look on the whiteboard. Here's my lovely drawing of me in a downward dog. So imagine this is kind of the position that you're in a downward dog, and this is your hips, hands and feet, okay? Now the reason why you can't lift in this position is because your center of mass is not over your base of support. You can't. But what you see with people who can press is they actually lean their shoulders forwards like this. Their hands are here, their feet are here. Oh look, I'm now forwards, right? And that means that I can get the lift in my legs to bring them round over the top. Now when you kick up, you're basically just doing the same thing. You're starting in this position, you're then kicking your leg round over, which brings your hips over your hands, so you can then get the balance of being in this position, right? Feet, hips, hands. I'm in this position. So, what does it actually look like in practice? When you're in a downward dog, at the start of it, you have to make sure your shoulders are elevated and your core is in, almost like someone's getting your hips, pulling them up to the ceiling. Step 1 is you lean your shoulders over your hands. If your shoulders aren't over the hands, what you see is people doing this in a kick up. They almost do like the arch, right? This is kind of like the shoulder position. Their hips can't get over. They have to lean their shoulders forwards over their hands so they can actually get the ability to pull their hips up and over. So that's step one. Core tense, shoulders up and engaged, shoulders over the hands. Step two is then, again, pushing through the shoulders again, locking the shoulders, finding that elevation. Step three is then the kick, which is, I think about it, rather than kicking my legs up, I think about pulling my hips towards the wall, right? So I kick with the legs, which pulls my hips up and over my shoulders, then my leg follows through and it comes towards the wall. Very, very simple, right? And if you look at this, the more that you can start in more this kind of like piked position, the less you'll have to kick, because the less momentum you'll need in your legs to get your hips up and over your shoulders. That's why when you see people doing the press to handstand, their hips literally lean over their shoulders, and that's when they find the lift. So if you're starting in a plank position and you're kicking up, you need to kick loads to get your hips over your shoulders. But if you start in a pike position and you've got this tension in your body and you're leaning your shoulders over your hands, you have to barely kick and you'll just be floating up to the wall. Okay, so now we know the actual mechanics of kicking up to the wall. We lean our shoulders forwards, we're pulling our hips over. What are the most common mistakes that I see in people doing their first kick up? Number one is bending their arms. Now, believe it or not, the handstand is very, very, very safe. The chest to wall is absolutely fine, the kick up is absolutely fine. The only problem that I see in the kick up is when people bend their arms and they basically go flailing into the wall. You have to make sure, this is why one of the steps of that process was locking the arms. You have to lock the elbows and keep the shoulders up to the ears, because that means that you won't be bending the elbows and basically bailing forwards. So as you kick, make sure to lock the elbows and keep the shoulders up to the ears. The second problem I see most commonly is the shoulders being behind the wrists. People kind of get this feeling of, okay, I need to get my butt to the wall, my hips to the wall, but they end up arching and bananaing rather than kind of like floating up to the wall. That is the importance of leaning your shoulders forwards as you kick. I also see it a lot in Cali members, when as they kick up, their shoulders come back. So make sure that as you're kicking up, you're also leaning into your hands, which might put some pressure on your wrists, by the way. So just be aware that you have warmed up your wrist and gone through all that. But if you are feeling it, almost in like this position and forwards, you know you're doing it really, really well. And the third problem that I see is the incorrect distance from the wall. I would go almost like 2 hand widths. I would go almost 2 hand lengths away from the wall, because that basically gives you enough of a kick to get your foot up to the wall and hip to the wall rather than being too far away from the wall. And you actually might even get to the point where you can balance for a bit in that position. This brings me on to the next point, which is balance with your fingers. In general, when teaching in a handstand class and a handstand workshop, I do not like people holding a kick up to the wall, because it just ingrains bad habits. It's going to banana your back and it's not going to be good for you. What I want you to do is to kick up to the wall, find your feet on the wall, then come away as soon as you can. For now, don't worry if you use your feet to come away from the little bit. So actually, once you're up there and you're holding against the wall, you're kicking up to the wall and holding, try and use your fingers to come away from the wall and see if you can get a little bit of balance. We're going to go through that in the next video, which is actually how to balance a handstand. Just for now, when you're kicking up to the wall for the first time, see if you can just get it more floaty each time you kick up. You might get a little hold in there, foot to wall, come away. But like I said, do not hold against the wall, because you're just going to be getting in bad habits with the banana back position. If you're going to be doing your strength work in a handstand, do your chest to wall. Remember, keep working up to that 1 minute max hold. Once you've got that, progress on from there. It's just going to help you from there. So just to go over, kicking up to the wall, the 3-step process. Find the tension in your shoulders and your core first, so almost like a high downward dog. Lean your shoulders forwards, push through the shoulders one more time, then kick using the legs to bring your hips over the shoulders, and keeping the shoulders forwards as you're kicking is gonna then allow you to stack the joints, just like when someone does a press to handstand and they're leaning their shoulders over their hands so they can bring their legs with them, okay? Not like the plank position. You want to be in this higher downward dog position as possible in that pike position. And again, we're not holding against the wall, we're trying to come away from the wall. Cool. If you can do 3 kick-ups in a row, nice and consistent, it's feeling floaty, you have my permission to move on to the next video, which is actually learning how to balance a handstand in the same position, but now rather than focusing all your effort on kicking up, we can get to the wall, which you know you can do each time, and you can then focus on using your fingers, your arms, and your shoulders to actually allow you to balance. So that was your first kick up to the wall. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to hit like below on YouTube, and if you have any comments or questions on the video, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I get back to all of the questions and comments on the CaliUnity YouTube, and I'd be more than happy to help you out. If you know someone else who's working on their first kick up, maybe they're doing kick ups, they should be doing a chest to wall handstand first. I don't know what it is, share this with them, share the love. And if you want to see more videos like this, the whole CaliUnity YouTube is dedicated to making health education accessible to everyone, especially for those who don't like traditional gyms but still want to get toned, strong, and mobile. We're taking all the lessons that we learned from our world-class facility in Bath and putting them online for free for you guys to enjoy. So, best of luck with your first kick up to handstand, guys. I'll see you in the next video, which is learning how to actually balance the handstand. And yeah, let's get that handstand going.